You're listening to the House of Cards on Facebook, YouTube, and BigPatriotRadio.com. All licenses for music and content have been purchased by and are for the express written use of the Big Patriot Radio networks. All information, opinions, and topics are for entertainment purposes and do not expressly represent the opinions of the show's host and or producer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Introducing to you.
You're on House of Cards, live on Facebook and YouTube.
It's going down.
Locked and loaded with the truth.
And good evening, everybody. Good evening. It is another great evening. A little rainstorm just went through here. Glad to welcome everybody here to the House of Cards on BigPatriotRadio.com, Facebook, and YouTube, wherever you're listening. We are so glad to have you with us. It is the, we're already at the 19th of June. And we're coming to you live from the Big Patriot Radio studios here in the great state of South Carolina. I want to welcome everybody again. For those first-timers, welcome out. We're glad to have you with us. We hope you make us a part of your Thursday evenings, as we have for almost 3 years now. September 1st, 2022 was the very first show. So we're quickly approaching the third year. And also those folks, again, listening all around the world on BigPatriotRadio.com. I want to thank, if you have been here with us since day one, a special thank you to those folks. We appreciate you. Don't forget, you can help us out if you'd like to. We're trying to collect 4,000 stars. Tonight, once again, from those folks on Facebook, you can go to the page wherever you may be on Facebook and send us some stars. We greatly appreciate those folks who last week we hit the 4,000 star mark. That sounds like a huge, incredible thing. It's really not a lot, but it helps keep things, keep the internet paid and all that kind of stuff. It keeps things going. If that's not your gig and Venmo's okay, hey, we have a link going through. You see it scrolling by there right now. You can hop on there, and we appreciate those folks on Venmo. Don't forget, here on BigPatriotRadio.com, 5 nights a week, we have podcasts. Obviously, here on Thursday, it is us. Then on Saturday, we have Anya Bellis and the Southern Sense radio show at 7 o'clock p.m. On Sunday at 7 o'clock, the BEK TV Network's Culture CrossRoads with Andrew Southwick on at 7 o'clock p.m. Monday nights at 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock p.m. We have the boys from Pickens County, David and David Cox and his son. That's at 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Mondays. Great show. And this coming Monday, from what they're telling me, is going to be off the chain. So tune in for that. And then on Wednesday, Corey Allen, who at the Overton Report at 8 and 9 p.m. You can also catch him on WTMA Radio, 1280, I believe it is, in Charleston. Monday through Friday. Let's see here. Didn't get anything, I think, because we had a little blip in the internet. Imagine that. I don't know who was the number one song last week. I can tell you that Bluffton and Greenville, South Carolina, were the number one listening cities. Lexington, South Carolina. Lexington, South Carolina, Hilton Head Island, and Somerville rounded out the top 4. And wish I could tell you what song had the most requests, but I can't. But hey, there's always next week.
Locked and loaded.
Let's go.
Big Patriot Radio. Blues, news, country pop, and classic rock.
And we've got a great show for you tonight. Not only do you need popcorn and probably an adult drink, as we always recommend, whether that's water or something else, you might need some tissues later on this evening. We have a special guest coming on later. She is going to tell, her and her husband, matter of fact, going to tell us her story Her life, as you might have seen with the title, her life, all of our lives, but hers was at a crossroads. Some things she has gone through, some things she is going through. And amazingly, she is relentlessly happy right now. I can't wait I don't know the entire story, so this will be for us all, and I can't wait to have her and her husband on here shortly. Don't forget, wherever you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, drop us a line on your comment section below, and that'll get to us, and we'll be either, if it's something we need to say or do or whatever, be glad to do it. Otherwise, just leave us a comment to what's going on and what's on your mind. So first, want to go back into a couple things. I have still not heard from any politician anywhere, not here, not there, nor over there, as they say, who has agreed. And I find this it's so bewildering. None who have agreed to take the pledge that I've been talking about. I'm sure all of you remember it. Some of them have told me when I've started to ask them now, hey, did you not hear? What say you? I don't remember any pledge you talked about. That's funny. Everybody else has, but the pledge was simple. It is a simple pledge. There's nothing secretive about it. It's a pledge to not vote for any new taxes, period, unless and until an equal value, doesn't matter the number, one tax or 101 taxes, but equal or greater in value is removed. County council, town council, school board, water board, soil and conservation, fire department, whatever. Because it's your money. It's simple. Accountable to you, no one else. Accountable, the politicians to be accountable to you. I responded to a post on Facebook. Good friend Tim Newman over in Beaufort had posted a while ago talking about county council. It was an article, I believe it was in the Island Packet, Beaufort Gazette, talking about infrastructure problems, and more than likely Beaufort County Council is going to put another referendum question to try to raise another 1% sales tax. And he had a very long and very well thought out reply to that. And I replied to him, and he was apologizing for his longevity, etc. I said, there's no need to apologize. What you said was succinct. If it takes that long, it takes that long. Far be it from me. And I said, here's my take on what you just said. And it all goes back to this pledge. Now, since we're talking about the referendum that possibly could, Amazon rolling up outside, this referendum question, I look at that as, I've got to change something. I look at that as this. Bear with me for a second while I do a couple of homework things here. They want to raise 1%. They call it a penny tax, but it's not a penny tax. Don't let them tell you that it is a penny tax, because there's nothing of a penny that's in it. Nothing at all. This tax would be it has to be for a specific amount of dollars for a specific amount of time. And they just had this. Wasn't it the last election? I believe it was. They just had this, and it was overwhelmingly poo-pooed by the electorate. Well, they did not hear the voice of the electorate, because they're at it again. And I just sent that leak, by the way. Apologize for that. So again, they're at it again. They want to try to raise this money for infrastructure. Now, I have never said that some of the needs, not all of them, but some of the needs are valid. Absolutely. We have needs here in Beaufort County. Again, I'm not denying that, not discounting that at all. But here's the thing. Until right now, county council, you need to understand this. And it's not just me. There has been a lot of people saying this. The electorate, the voters, they do not trust you. They do not trust you. That has to be overcome first. And that's just how it is. They don't trust you. So you need to regain trust as soon as possible, as earnest as possible. And the first way you can do that is to start cutting expenses. Now, we'll talk about this later in depth. But cutting expenses, if county council was to take control of what they should be doing and walk in there and start cutting expenses, you will find an amazing amount of money. An amazing amount of money. But no, and I'll go into this a little bit detail a little bit later for just a quick minute. But the thing is, currently the county administration, some call it staff. I call it the administration because staff they only do what their boss tells them. Administration is not the friend of the citizen. And that's not a dig. That just is what it is. That's the same everywhere. They're not there for the citizen. They're a governmental bureaucrats, plain and simple. That's what they are. County council is not a bureaucrat, not supposed to be a bureaucrat. So instead of relying on, well, that's what the staff brought forward, and we're going to take what they say. I can't tell you the number of times I hear that. I've heard that in years when I was there, and still I hear it more now. This is what staff said. This is what administration said. We're going to go with what they say. That's bull crap. That's bull crap. So anyway, we'll go more on that. Cut expenses, sign the pledge, politicians. Don't vote for any new tax until one of equal or greater than value is removed. I'm not really shocked, we'll say, but I am a tad surprised that no one has raised their hands. I honestly thought that one or two, maybe a third, at least in this general area within a 50-mile radius, I thought one or two, maybe three, would have publicly proclaimed, raising their hand, I'll take that pledge and I won't vote on any new tax unless one or more of equal or greater value is removed. Not shocked, but a little surprised. I thought there were some. It's really very simple. I talked to one today who completely had I don't know how I can make it any simpler without being like this rinse and repeat. Talked to one today and had completely different understanding. I think I don't know, but it's very simple. County government and town municipalities as well is extremely socialized. When you take a step back and look at it, take away all the onions, all the peelings of the onion, all the layers, it's very socialized. I mean, The masses are paying to subsidize things that we have to have. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, fire department, the sheriff, trash, all the stuff that you have to have, and you have to have it, has to be paid for, and that's paid for by us. We, the people, subsidize it for everyone. That is a form of socialization or socialized government. Don't have a conniption fit, but that is what it is. To not agree to sign a pledge, vocally speak out that, hey, I'll sign that and I believe in that. That's almost, in my opinion, not that you asked for it, that's almost somewhat criminal. Politicians, they take people's money, they take people's votes, but so many refuse to be held accountable back to the people. You and I vote for Joe and Jane America to represent us in different places. Joe and Jane America should be accountable to us. We put you there, we can take you away from there. But so often politicians get into office and they don't want to be held accountable to anything. Now, here, breaking news. We're short period away from election season again. All of a sudden, you're going to see politicians becoming accountable. Yes, I'll be accountable. I want to be held accountable. I'm telling you, mark my word, it will happen before you know it. I don't want, and there's a ton watching right now, and there's a ton. I don't want you to take the pledge, Mr. or Mrs. Politician, if it's only to get a vote, because I don't care about that. The people really don't care about it, and you're taking advantage of them. Okay? So unless you're serious about it, don't come when you're hungry for the votes and you're hungry for cash to run the campaign. I'll sign it. I don't want to hear about it, because when you fail, and you probably will, it will be horrific for you. And I'm not trying to do anything horrific. How is a politician not doing this, not taking the pledge? How is that any different than any other white or blue collar crime? How is it? I want to also bring something to your attention that happened last week. And I can't remember if I spoke to this briefly or not. I really don't remember. And I don't go back and watch the podcasts all the time, only for particular reasons or whatever. But last Monday night at the county council caucus, now that's held prior to the regular council meeting. Okay, that's what a caucus is. It's like a pre-meeting, pre-gaming before the council meeting. It's a pre-game, but it is a meeting. Councilman York Glover asked to have a presentation made that was not on the agenda. This presentation was from some folks from the Gullah Farmers Market, out in St. Helena. The topic at hand, the Gullah Farmers Market, and anything or everything about them, that is not the issue. That is not the issue. What is at issue, and hey, as I've said, I support the Gullah Farmers Market in their mission and their endeavors wholeheartedly. I was one of four, I think it was 3 or 4 of us on county council who helped York Glover get this idea come into reality back in 2018. It's the how of this that's wrong. It's the alleged FOIA violations that happened last Monday night that occurred. That's the problem. You see, an agenda, if you watch any public meeting, they must say this. They must go through this. Agendas have to be publicly put out there, for a lack of better words. The media must be notified of the agenda of the meeting. There's a process. Okay. You will hear the chair in different jurisdictions. They do it different ways. Here, you'll typically, historically, hear the chair at the beginning of the meeting ask the clerk to counsel, has this meeting been properly memorialized, the media notified, and followed all the FOIA restrictions, etc. You'll hear the chair make that claim as they, and I'm gonna let you listen to this here in a minute. You'll hear Chairwoman Howard used the muse, if you will, of quote unquote during council member highlights. That's what they start the meeting with, council member highlights. She said immediately, well, there is a presentation. So let's take a full stop right there. That's not how this works. And I heard from someone today, and that was the first thing. Well, no, I don't think there's any violation because Howard said that we're getting to council member presentations, and council member Glover has a presentation. That's not how this works. Council member presentations are for information that the council member may be working on or have worked on, or meetings they attended. It's not to bring presentations to the table. If that were it, you would have your meeting clogged up with these unethical presentations that had to have zero notice. The public has to be kept in the loop. Do you see the common denominator with all this? They are not purposefully or not, I don't know. I implore you to ask them. They're purposefully keeping the public out of the information. So ethics and FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, ethics and FOIA is very clear. The council member highlight is for information to be delivered from the council member, not presentations based on their personal agendas. Here we go again. Beaufort County Council doesn't seem like they can play within the rules and guidelines. So I want you to take a look at this. It's very short. Let's take a look at this short meeting, this very opening, and you can hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And we'll open this up here. This will be Chairwoman Alice Howard. If you see my mouse, that's her right there. And let me tell you who the cast characters are. Tom Reitz, there's York Glover, Joe Passament, Mark Lawson, Alice Howard, Tab Tabernick, Logan Cunningham, Gerald Dawson. That's Larry McKellen, and we're missing, he'll be there in a little while, I think, is David Bartholomew. So here we go.
This meeting was, can you all hear me? Okay. This meeting was advertised in compliance with the Freedom of Information Act. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this time, thank you, Ms. Hannah. I would like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in.
So right there, let's pause that for a second. She's asked for a motion to approve the agenda. The agenda, according to FOIA and ethics, was published for the public and for the media to be notified of the topics at hand and the meeting as scheduled.
All in favor? We do have a short presentation during the council member discussion. Councilman Glover, would you like to introduce the people who have a presentation?
Yes, we have today a guest from the Gullah Farmers Co-op, and Mrs. Vernita Dorr is the executive director.
So that's where I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop it right there. Again, the the action at hand is not the issue. Fully support them. Looks like our guest has checked in back in the green room. We see you back there. You may want to fix your picture. Hi, your picture is horizontal. Yeah, there you exactly. It's horizontal. So take a look at it like on a cell phone. Maybe you'll see it. I don't know how to describe it, but you need to turn it like this way. Anyway, that's where the wheels fell off at there you go. The whole point of that was this. They're doing things that the public doesn't know about. Then if it didn't go any worse, it couldn't get any worse. At the end of this, the Gullah Farmers Market, Vernita Dorr, who I adore, she's a fantastic lady. She used to work in the Obama administration at the USDA. Politics aside, she is fantastic. She was on the USCB Higher Education Commission with me. I think the world of her. She's the head of the commission out there at the Gullah Farmers Market. Anyway, they provided gift baskets to every council member. And at the end of all that, then Glover steps up and gives one to the administrator. Now, keep in mind, Glover, in several different places, he is a board member of the co-op, but in several different written pieces of information, he is called an employee. Those are two huge red flags. A gift valued at more than $25. It was a nice big basket full of vegetables. I mean, you can't buy tomatoes on the vine and a bag of strawberries for that kind of money. So you have to follow the ethics rules and the FOIA rules. The gift baskets are possibly, I don't know, I'm not an ethics expert, a direct violation of ethics rules and regulations. Chairwoman Alice Howard and member York Glover know the rules. They've been there, aside from Gerald Dawson, they've been there the longest. They know the rules. Why, though, is there obviously a problem abiding by that? Why is that? Alice, York, you guys watch this. We'd love to have your comment. I'd love to hear from you. Why? Was it a mistake? I mean, was it an overlook? I get it. I mean, you're human. You're human. Or was it intentional? Did you just not know how the rules are? Either way, especially Chairwoman Howard, you are the head of this club. You're the coach of this team. You are the quarterback. It's your responsibility to make sure the citizens of this county are represented, and not following the FOIA laws and ethics laws. You have put every single citizen at risk. You are now at risk of lawsuits from the FOIA police, and they're out there. As an elected official, you've always got to watch for the FOIA police. The ethics folks, again, even to this day, I have to still file ethics files with them every quarter to show, is there any money left in campaign accounts? You know, are you planning on running? Blah, 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 blah. Who pays for all that? Us. All those possible lawsuits, who pays for it? We do. The taxpayers. I've said from the very beginning of the term of Chairwoman Howard as chair, what is it, 120 days, 130 days ago, I will give her every ounce of respect and grace to do the job that she needs to do and wants to do. But right here, this is an alleged, obviously, a violation that cannot go unnoticed. When you allegedly violate ethics and FOIA, that's a whole new ball game. I want to hear from you, the listener. You know, what is your opinion? Do you know anything about FOIA? What do you feel about when you hear FOIA being possibly violated, ethics possibly being violated? I mean, is it okay to just look the other way? Is it okay for Beaufort County citizens to turn the other cheek? Or do we hold people accountable for the actions that they make? 7:35 here on Big Patriot Radio and Beaufort County's House of Cards. wonderful guest and her husband coming up here shortly. Furthermore, this brings me to the subject I was talking to Councilmember Tom Reitz about last week, and that is legal representation. Yeah, got to throw that legal button in there. I've said it for years now, and I'm going to keep saying it until somebody does something about it. And I think there are some, I know Tom believes this, we've talked about it. They're getting on board with it, and that is that Beaufort County Council must have its own legal representation, not affiliated with the county attorney. Why is that? Because the county attorney, let me tell you how this works. The county attorney works for the administrator, the CEO of the county. That's his boss or her boss, whatever. They don't work. The county attorney does not work for county council. Read that again. The county attorney does not work for county council. Their allegiance is to the guy or gal who writes their check. That is the county administrator. You cannot serve two masters. County council is there, elected by the people, for the people. They're not there for the government. They are not the government. The county attorney is part of the government. County council should have their own legal representation, not part of the government. Someone asked me about interests at heart. Who has the interests at heart? Not the county attorney, because they don't work for the citizens. Nothing against any of these people. They're great people. Love them. They're great. But it just is what it is. The county administrator has their own agenda, and that's not to serve the taxpayer. That's to they are the that Richard Geyer is the government, not the county council. If the county administrator says to his employee, the county attorney, quote, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z, that may not be in the best interest of the taxpayer. I can tell you, as a business owner, my guest coming up can tell you this, as business owners, the government doesn't always have the best interest of the business in hand. The county council or town council person may, but not the government. For a council member who claims to be representing the taxpayer, and they all claim that, especially as we get closer to election, but for them to go just blindly go ahead and do or agree with whatever the county says and whatever the county attorney says, that's completely senseless. And quite frankly, that shows a lack of concern for all taxpayers. But watch as we get closer to election season, once again, all of a sudden, they're going to pay attention to you.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. It is 20 minutes before the top of the hour here on BigPatriotRadio.com and Beaufort County's House of Cards. We're going to bring on our guest now. I have known our guest and her husband for years and years and years and years. They look like they're 25. I look like I'm 65, but I've known them forever. Together, they own and operate Nick's Flooring and Cabinetry company here in the Low Country. And let me tell you, they're not an advertiser here, but I'm going to give them a shameless plug. They've done work for my wife and I in the past. We had a major, it was horrible. The bathroom, the wall leaked, and the pan in the shower leaked, and it was done shitty. And I knew to call Kenny. Kenny and I had worked together before. Called him, came out here. He told me, explained to me. I told him, our vision, and he said, "I've got this product. I think it's called Schluter Dietra, if I remember right." And I said, "Well, tell me about it." And he showed me his book, and we're talking about it. And I'm like, "Dude, if you believe it, I believe it." Never had a problem. Never had a problem. To this day, when people call or I see them on the street, they're like, "Hey, man, I got a tile problem, and so-and-so track home built my house, and the shower leaks." I'm like, yeah, it was done shitty. you need to call Nick's Flooring and Cabinetry, and they'll take care of you. They know what they're doing. Anyway, enough of that. Our guest, Heather, is a premier realtor here in the Low Country. They have 3 daughters. They're very active. Like I said, they look like they're 25. Very active family. They're active in church. They're all over town. They're very well known. Recently, Heather had to undergo brain surgery. Her doctor found some masses on her brain. And I'm sure if I get this wrong, I want her to correct me here in just a second. Discovered by banging the old noggin on the garage door. How many times have you ever ran it? I do it more often than I like to think about. Heather has been piecing this whole thing together that she's gonna tell you about with stories of she forgot places, forgot names, forgot where she was, brain fog. This whole thing. Anyway, and her story is amazing, and I only know just a smidgen. Please join me in welcoming to the show. Let me find my right buttons here. Where are we? Join me. Welcome to the show, Heather and Kenny Nix. How are you?
I'm
Look
great.
at you.
I'm great. This is a lot for my family. So Kenny's like, you have to tone it down. You got to figure out how to scale this back.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I know I'm discerning. I know how to articulate things carefully. But I just want to give you a little history on Kenny and me.
Okay.
So I think it's important. I think it's an important aspect of the story. So Kenny's sweet parents were only 16 when he was born. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And his mom had no idea that she was pregnant. I mean, she was like, how in the world did this happen? And her last name was Lamb.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pamela Diane Lamb. And he was an oopsie, obviously. And my mom was 40, already had raised 3 kids, my brothers and my sister. There was 3 of them. There's 3 is a very important aspect of this story, okay? And these are not my words. I could have never done this a few months ago. I was like a dead soul, Mike. I was so lost. I thought the whole town hated my guts. I changed my routine. I stopped going certain places. I was disoriented around town, like you said. Thank God I didn't kill someone while driving, because I was so irritated, I could barely be around myself. And the day I was, so back to my mom, whose name is Mary. God just uses us in the craziest ways. Again, she already had 3 kids, so I was number 4. My mom was so ashamed and so embarrassed, and it was just a very obviously emotional time. My mom did not have a higher education, and I've already shared this with her because I'm sensitive to it. But her husband, his name's Jimmy Stewart, and I'll tell you that has some significance because one of my favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah. And I made my family watch it the other night. Yeah. Wow. Just because I was like, I have to watch this movie. I feel called to watch it, like, because I literally just wanted, after this thing was removed, I literally just wanted to run around town and like hug everybody. And I've always felt this calling, but I tried so hard to reject it. Because I didn't want to be like that crazy fire and brimstone lunatic on the corner of New York City, like street corners. So I feel like, so I was told my whole life I had health anxiety. It wasn't health anxiety. It was trauma. I carried trauma. And I think a lot of people do. I couldn't, I was always like,
Right.
air hunger, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can ask my broker, Tal, at William Ravis,
Mm-hmm.
because Tal would be like, I see how stressed you are. And I wanted to be like, Tal, I'm always like this. Like, I could never catch a full breath.
Right.
And anyway.
So back to your mom.
So back to my mom. So
You moved here.
well, hold on. So I was born, and my mom had limited income because, like I said, she didn't have a super high education, which was always a little bit of an insecurity for her.
Sure.
And
yeah, I read that in your blog post.
yeah, and her husband, and I probably already wrote this too, Jimmy, which he's forgiven, just so you know. There was a woman in their neighborhood. This is in the 70s when things really started to unravel with the family unit.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this woman across the street, and she had 3 kids, Kelly, Connie, and Meredith. And my brothers and my sister were very, very good friends with them. And this woman, Hillary, went around the neighborhood trying to scoop up other people's husbands. And my mom's husband took the bait and moved in across the street. You know, and you talk about broken. I mean, my mom was just obviously devastated. I mean, she was already super insecure. And she shouldn't have been, because she had such a huge purpose. My mom's smile could radiate a room. I mean, she is like the most... I have witnessed her buy homeless people, just give homeless people $10. And she, trust me, she didn't have it to give, you know? So she'd say, no strings attached, you know, like, do what you want with it. I don't care. Not that she didn't care. I mean, obviously she hoped they'd grab a sandwich or something, but she wasn't going to sit there and judge them if they went and got a 40 ounce or something, you know?
Right.
But, I just feel like I keep hearing this huge calling for purpose.
Right.
And like I told you, I've been told I have terrible anxiety my whole life. And I'm telling you, it was trauma. And there is a lot of people holding on to trauma.
Sure.
I snuck out as a kid, and I went and watched The Exorcist. And I panicked the whole way home, and I ran straight to my brother.
You know, knowing you as long as I've known you and Kenny,
Yeah.
and trying to reimagine, you know, you as a teenager, maybe going out and watching The Exorcist, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. You are full of life, and I want you to catch your breath just for a second. I want to ask Kenny something.
I want Kenny will you get me some water? The steroids just make me have.
Oh, I bet.
I bet. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Okay.
Take a drink. Oh, easy, cowgirl. Just easy there for a second. Kenny, you know, I have to say, I mean, I've known you for a long time, Kenny. And by the way, you know, you have done remarkable with the CrossFit. I mean, dude, you are fit, brother. And I wasn't kidding. You guys look like you're 25. You're making me look bad, Kenny. But you look fantastic, bro. You had some health concerns a few years back. I remember you going through that. And quite frankly, and Heather put this in her blog post, and I agree 100%. Most everybody, if they had a pulse, was not sure how long Kenny Nix was going to be around. I mean, you were really looking tough, but you look fantastic. And I got to say, I mean, I can tell, because I've known you all as long as I have, I can tell you are right there behind Heather every step of the way. And I want you to know, my brother, that I appreciate that. And I wish everybody could hear both of your stories, because you're an example. And you've got 3 daughters who I know look up to both of you.
3.
Yeah.
There's that 3 again.
Exactly. And it's awesome. So not to mention you're a hell of a floor guy, but you know, I appreciate what you're doing just as an individual, as a man, as a father. So again, I tell people all the time, you're a great guy, and you just prove it, bud. You just prove it all the time.
So there is an ironic twist in all of this. And well, I don't think it's ironic at all, actually. I think that there is a heavenly message. when I met Kenny, he was battling some
Sure.
of his own demons.
Right.
But I looked in his eyes, and we had friends trying to get us together, and I was like, I'm not dating that guy. He's bad news. And I mean, he was a little bit of a ladies' man. I mean, look at him, you know.
There you go. Exactly.
But I just saw something so rich in his eyes that, and again, like we were just like these like broken little people that weren't meant to be. And this, he's struggling. He's like, I don't want to save the world. He's like, are you prepared to lose some friends? I'm like, listen, please trust me. I know I have enough discernment and enough cognitive ability to articulate this.
Sure.
So I was like I said, did you ever listen to that song, I Want to Set the World on Fire?
Probably.
Sure.
The name doesn't catch me, but I probably have.
So when we lived in Bluffton Village, I used to run around the pond having panic attacks, thinking that I was about to die, and I would constantly check my pulse. He probably ran me to the emergency room, I know, 3 or 4 times. And when you get to the emergency room and you're acting like how I was acting, the first thing they ask you is, well, what drugs did she take? And I'm like, I wish this was drugs.
Yeah.
I hate that my body is doing this to myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Setting the World on Fire. It's a song that I used to run around to, and it would make me cry. And it's by a Christian artist. Her name is Britt Nickel. It really just hit me so hard. It hit me so hard that I hated it. I wanted to run from it. So sometimes, not all the time, but I didn't like that Holy Spirit feeling because I've tried so hard to be a part of the secular world. I just wanted to be normal. Like when the kids at my school were smoking pot and I tried it, it had like the total opposite effect. And I remember sitting in Syracuse, New York, and I was in this room full of these like really popular like hippie kids. And I, like my whole life, in the 80s, remember DARE, DARE?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, no losers did drugs, not the popular athletes who made good grades, who were all artists and musicians and and all good looking. But I'm telling you, that world rejected me hard. And I think it's because I just brought a little too much light. I think because I remember this, being in a social setting and I was handed my very first cigarette at 15 and I smoked it. And I remember the group of girls behind me being like, does she even smoke? And I wanted to be like, do I smoke? Watch this, bitches. Sorry, God. But you get it, right?
Believe me, I've got so many words I can add to this. I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean.
So the entire relationship, we've been together 25 years now. I've known Heather with generalized anxiety. We've shared the same doctor, and I tease her, and she's always said she's had a tumor since I've known her, right? And so I'm like, you kind of manifested this.
Yeah,
to tease her a little bit. But Mike, I think what Heather is trying to say, that I'm still trying to.
He's still on a spiritual journey.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to put together the pieces, right? Yeah. Sure. And I'm just listening to her and trying to be as patient as I can with this new person that woke up from surgery that I never had him. Like it's like the same face, right? The same, but a different mindset. Yeah. So I guess if I had to, the best way to explain it is if I was to ask you if I could give you $10 million today with no strings attached, would you take it? Like truly no strings attached, right? Because there's always strings attached.
Sure.
Well, most of us would, right?
Absolutely.
But if I said, okay, but when you get that $10 million, there's no strings attached, but you can't wake up tomorrow. You don't have life when you go to sleep.
Right.
Okay, so
that changes everything.
we're worrying about Heather waking up from the surgery and worrying about, is she going to remember who we are? Is she going to have feeling on the left side? Is she going to move her hand, move her leg? You know, they prepare you for the neurosurgeons. They tell you that this isn't an easy easy surgery. You know, they found 3 tumors, Mike, not 1. Originally, the plan was to remove all 3. He allowed us to come home and spend time with
3.
Back to the 3. So they allowed us to come home and spend time with the family, with the children for a week. They said, she's doing really good. She hasn't had any seizures. So we feel comfortable sending you home to spend time with the kids. Because, you know, removing these 3 tumors, there's 2 of them that's on her brainstem. Okay. Very, very, very deep. But those 2 are very small and they're not giving her any problems. So we were to come back Thursday, but it wasn't set in stone. So we were going to be home from Thursday and then return the following Thursday. So this time that we're having at home with the girls, we tried to have it be as normal as possible. I took her out on the boat. We went to CrossFit. Martin prescribed light. I thought she was coming to watch, right? Like, but Martin prescribed light workouts for her. She did them. Honestly, I could not believe it.
Yeah.
But this whole weekend, I'm processing what's about to take place, and I'm worried about them removing all 3 tumors because only one of them, the larger tumor, the easiest tumor, if there was such of a thing, right, to remove, was the larger one that was hemorrhaging. That was causing all the pressure to make her think she had a concussion from hitting her head on the garage door.
Right.
Well, through this weekend in leading up to the phone call to go get the surgery, again, we're worrying about how she's going to be after the surgery.
Yeah.
I think Heather's worrying about and not trying to act and be as present and normal as possible in the moment and be strong for me and for the girls.
Right.
But in the front of her mind, in silence, she's worrying about, is this my last boat ride? Is this my last time seeing my girls and my husband do CrossFit? Is this my last dinner? Is this my last ride to Charleston?
Understandable.
And I get the phone call sitting in the parking lot at CrossFit that it's moved up to Wednesday morning. I have to have her there at 5 a.m.
Well,
So I on that phone call with the neurosurgeon, he called me personally to let me know to bring her. He informs me. I expressed concern about removing all 3, and I asked if he had taken a further dive into it and what the plan was, and he said, I have, and we're just going to remove the 1. Okay, so
there were
let me finish. Before the surgery, when we drop her off, and I'm with her from 5 a.m. to 7:30, and they gave her the happy juice to go make the anesthesia. They don't let, you know, I don't go back with her. I'm in that waiting room where they take your vitals and do all that stuff, and you wait. And we were there from like 5 to 7:30, and as they're rolling her off, and she gets around the corner, she tells me to set this world on fire on my car radio when I get back to the car. She's yelling it after they give her the happy juice. Most of the people that were getting pushed by me were already passed out from the happy juice,
exactly.
they call it, that they weren't able to yell.
I can see this. Absolutely.
Put the song on. So that I wish I would have had that on video, because had I known this is where Heather's mindset was going to be after waking up from the surgery. But again, we're worrying about all these things, and back to me giving you $10 million, but telling you you're not going to wake up. That's how Heather has felt.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks, right? She's had 2 weeks to process this and think about this. But at the same time, as a mother and a nourisher, back to her mom is an incredible mother. Like, and this is Heather and very, very, very smart. But she woke up. not only did she wake up, but she woke up and the neurosurgeon comes to me and tells me her vitals were great through the whole process. I was able to remove the entire tumor, and I checked on her. He came and told me she's awake, she's doing okay. Then he came back an hour or 2 hours later, because it took a while from her waking up at 3. I didn't see her till 7. I think I saw him about 5 o'clock, and he says, I went back to see if she was in any pain, and she told me she's negative 100. And she says nothing could be.
I'm so glad I said it out loud, because I wasn't sure if I did.
Nothing could be as bad as the pain and the pressure that I felt. And I can tell you, remove something from my brain, I feel no pain. He's like, really? I can't believe that. Like, the 2 things that they prepared me for that was going to keep her in the hospital was the brain tube. He didn't have to have one. He had said that the tumor had bled so much with inside of itself that he was able, when he cut it away from the brain, he could cut the brain without it bleeding. And since the tumor didn't bleed, he didn't need the tube, right? So that was the first positive thing. That's the one thing that keeps you in the hospital. The second thing that keeps you in the hospital is the patient asking for the pain meds because they're in so much pain.
Right. So
she gets in a room about 8 or 9 o'clock or something around that time on Wednesday night, and I stay with her. She ended up kicking me out. My cousin lives on James Island, and I probably left at 11 p.m. and went to his house to go to sleep. And the next morning I get a phone call, and it's Heather, and it's like 5 a.m. and she's like, I'm hungry, where are you at?
This doesn't happen.
And then
this doesn't happen.
I'm like, I'm gonna go. I went back to bed, and then I got a call at 7. I'm hungry, where are you at? Again, so I go get her something to eat, and the time waiting to get her to or her waiting for me to get to the hospital, I get a third phone call.
3
that says, guess who gets to go home?
Yeah. When I read all that, I'm like, no way.
So she's the first. They're calling it a miracle. The neurosurgeons and his team are. They've never had a patient that has not needed a brainstem, that has woken up and been discharged less than 48 hours, that was walking the following morning on their own to go to the bathroom.
Unbelievable.
So back to the $10 million thing, I feel like through Heather's whole life, especially me knowing her for 25 years and having generalized anxiety and trying to navigate life through that turmoil, she now feels like she has a purpose.
And he's like, I don't want to save the world. I just want to install my cabinets. He's like, why do you feel this calling? And I'm like, I'm telling you, he left out bits and pieces. So we need to go back a little bit. How long do we have? Just curious.
10 more minutes.
After I hit my head on the garage door.
I do have some questions for you, but
okay.
Go ahead.
After I hit my head on the garage door, I screamed, "Not today, Satan!" And I just like rebuked it, and I made fun of people like that. Like that's weird, but I was going to CrossFit, and I was not going to let him make me think that I couldn't. I was going to fight through that weird feeling. So hold on. Let's go even further back. No, let's go a little forward. Okay. What he's forgetting is that we actually met with my doctor the day before the surgery, Dr. Wayne Johnson, who I can't say enough amazing things about. He is like my soul brother. He reminds me a lot of my brothers, actually. And I remember when he told me he got the news, he's like, Heather, it was like a kick in my balls, and sorry, God.
I know. Let me interrupt you. So we go to Lake Oconee. Like, she hit her head on Wednesday, and on Friday we left to go to Lake Oconee with some friends. And that whole time, she kept saying, "I think I have a concussion." And Mike, it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was trying to play it off, like back to her anxiety thing. I'm like, light of it, honey. you're not the first person to have a concussion.
Sure.
Like it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay. Like we're
Yeah.
on the boat, we're kneeboarding, we're jumping off rocks.
I
and
wasn't.
we're-
I had an
but
ice
she's
pack
got
on
an
my head.
ice pack on her head, and she
So you
wasn't-
hit your head up here as well.
Oh yeah,
Okay. All right.
so
on the garage door.
So we come back on Wednesday. She calls Wayne on Wednesday. He brings her in on Thursday, and he's just listening to her. And you know, for 25 years, he's heard this girl say she's had a tumor and has anxiety that she's hid very well in public and friends. Close girlfriends probably know about it, but like, you know, 95% of people have no idea Heather has this anxiety that she's learned to cope with, by the way, without medication, no antidepressants or anything.
Oils.
And
The doTERRA oils.
and he said to himself, and he shared this with us the day before surgery that we saw him, and he says, I'm going to be honest with you guys and tell you, number one, I didn't think you guys would still be married. Number two, I was going to talk Heather off another cliff and let her know it's okay to have a concussion. We're not sending you to get a CAT scan.
Yeah.
And he said, but number three, I sent you to get a CAT scan for your own peace of mind, because I've been sick of hearing you talk about having a brain tumor.
And you were right the whole time.
Apparently.
And thank God for him sending her,
Yeah.
because you can't be an advocate for your Mike. If you and I wanted to go into the doctor office today, and even if we were willing to pay cash for it, and ask for a CAT scan to be preventative. Hey, I heard Heather Nix's story, and you know what? I know my insurance won't pay for it, but I want to order a CAT scan, right? I want to see to be preventative, so I don't have this tumor that ends up that could be 1 centimeter now. That Heather's was 4 centimeters, right? Wow. And it had hemorrhage, right? So if she didn't hit her head on the garage door, there could have been a possibility. And all the symptoms that she's had that has been a result of this tumor, she's been blaming on perimenopause because we're in our 40s.
Or I was like going down early dementia rabbit holes because.
So
are you doing the WebMD thing?
Oh, totally.
Oh, yeah.
And it lied
This
to me.
sounds so familiar.
The one time it was like, this is normal. You're fine. Hormones, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Due to the age and stuff like that. But I mean, so, you know, he hitting her head and then finding this out, and everything has been just.
It's all documented. I have receipts.
If you're not a believer, if you have time on your hands and you're friends with Heather on Facebook, if you're not, send her a Facebook request. And over the past 6 months of her forgetting to put names on contracts and it getting to the attorney and them coming back and saying, this is not like you, this isn't signed. Like these parts are signed, but this isn't signed. And then her, what's another thing that's something silly?
I don't know, but I really wanted to go back.
But there's just been a lot of little things. Yeah. That the Deuteronomy verse, like we've never read that verse in the Bible together ever. She's never read that book, and she had a dream about it one night
when we were at Fittest of the Coast at Charleston.
And then she had something where she was cleaning the house or looking for the Bible, and it was open on the floor that chapter that she had a dream about.
I was vacuuming.
And it has something to do with the number 3. I'm sure she can relate to it. But, you know, it's just been very, very interesting to sit and listen and hear her talk about all these different situations that as a result of this tumor that's probably been there for 6 to 8 months based on her connecting the dots of things that have happened. Yeah. And I think that's where she feels like she just wants, you know, to share her story, because we're not out of the woods yet, right? We still have this biopsy that's got to come back. Yeah. And I don't think she's wanting to think about that and face that.
Well,
I tell you that I know while I'm not a doctor, but I pretend to play one, I can tell you that positive energy and positive outlook is probably some of the best, next to God himself, probably some of the best medicine. Yeah. And if there's anybody that I know that is positive right now, It's that young lady sitting next to you.
You know, I asked the neurosurgeon, I said, how can this be? Like, what do you think that you're saying this is a miracle, but like, why do you think that went so well? And he said, we have a friend in common that you went to high school with. His name is Nick Rose. Mm-hmm. Do you know Nick? He went to Hilton Head Prep.
No.
He's 44.
I don't think I know him. Maybe I do, but I don't.
So Nick is the bioengineer that makes the parts that the neurosurgeons do the brain surgeries with. So Nick lives in Charleston on James Island. Nick works with Dr. Martinez, the neurosurgeon that did the surgery, along with all the others. So Nick is in the OR when these doctors are doing surgery on these patients about 3 to 4 times a week. Okay. Oh, wow. And Nick saw our post, Heather's post, mainly with her tagging me about what she was going through. And he called Dr. Martinez personally on his cell phone and said, this girl that you're doing surgery on, I went to school with her husband. And they've got a lot of people praying for them. And if you ever want to have something go well, this is the girl you want. This is the one. And I want you to, he took 5 hours to do a 3-hour surgery. So afterwards, when I was asking Dr. Martinez, you say this is a miracle. And these neurosurgeons, a lot of them are real nerdy. They believe in science. That you tell them you're praying for them. They act kind of weird, Yeah. And he says, your wife's positive attitude and the people that have called me, that we have we have the same friends in common, and to hear how many people are praying for you, those are the two things. And that's why your wife is doing so well.
All right, I'm being told.
So you're absolutely right.
I'm being told to turn you off. I know, but let me. There is a crucial piece of this puzzle missing.
Okay.
And I have to get it in there.
All right.
The day before the surgery, we met with my doctor, Dr. Wayne Johnson.
Okay.
And he was explaining to us what was discovered. And it was about 3 hours later that Dr. Martinez called Kenny and was like, we're changing our approach. Right. So I think that was an important piece to discuss,
Absolutely. There are, I do want you to know there are over 450 people watching you right now on 2 different channels, and there are over 7,000 people tuned in to bigpatriotradio.com listening to your story. I do want to pass a couple of these along. Nina Carl, I hope she's still on here. Actually, a friend of mine from school, telling she lives up in Delaware, I believe it is, lifting prayers to you. Another good friend of the show, Julianne Cobra. God is great always, and amen to that. Another friend of the show, Barbara Arthur, passing along to you that God is so good, and you are a testimony, Heather. I want to ask you, I know you said that on your and Kenny's drive to Charleston to MUSC, that's when I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's when the God moment started to really happen.
Oh my God, it was so intense. Like I thought.
What did that feel like inside, coming from someone who's dealt with anxiety? And I get it.
Yeah.
What did that feel like when all of a sudden you're overwhelmed, I'm sure, with this God moment?
I'm telling you, I thought we had a strong marriage before, but when you are fiercely praying, listening to like worship music, which we never do except on Sundays at our church when Lolly sings. I have to give a shout out to Lolly because I thought of her when I was coming to singing that song. Anyway, it is like, it changes the whole marital. I don't even have earthly terms.
I knew better not to change the song, Mike.
Good
to
man.
something.
We were praying so
we
hard.
Learned. Eventually we learned.
Summers,
yeah.
Eventually we learned.
I mean, it was just like, it was so, look at the boats. 1, 2, 3. There have been so many signs I was searching.
Sure.
You know, I was.
Yeah, so
I have been searching for so long. Go ahead.
Let's dive into that just for a second. And I was telling Teresa, I said, over the last several days, I said, I told her, I said, honey, I've never been into numerology, but I've always thought that, numbers meant something, but I really didn't know what. I said, but I tell you, honey, I've read everything that, Heather and Kenny have put out there, and these numbers are something is really hitting me about these numbers. What do you think deep down? Why three? Why three?
Sure.
And where did that come from?
The Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, 100%. And my grandfather died in 1977, and he was fascinated with the Holy Trinity. My grandfather, honestly, he was like weirdly excited to die, and just had so many questions for God. Yeah. And I told my mom, I was like, he is rejoicing. So you're going into Charleston.
You are experiencing things that most mortals don't understand. You finally, you're in the hospital, you're getting some happy juice. Where's your head? No pun intended. Where is your head at that time as you're about ready to be rolled from whatever that area, where we can't go any further. Yeah. Back to, what's going through your mind? Do you remember that moment?
I do. And I remember this really sweet resident. MUSC is a teaching hospital, and I just can't say enough amazing things about them. Who would have thought a little hospital
and 25-year-old resident nurse practitioner. They're amazing there. I told them they're all too nice. They're making me suspect. I said
too nice. I understand.
Nobody's this nice. You guys are like, why?
What's wrong with you? What are you trying to get over on?
And it was like that way the week before they let us go home, and then when we went back, and it was just very, very remarkable how nice. But that, Mike, that's a good question. I want to hear the answer.
Sure. You're not going to interrupt me, are you?
Well, she's getting better. She's getting better. The recovery's coming along well.
He's been through it. So this kid, Tyler, who's a resident, I'll never forget him. He's like, so listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He's like, you got something really serious going on. And then next thing I know, they brought me a really warm blanket and just made me feel so, I don't know. What do? You just kind of like succumb. I mean, it's like I was thinking to myself, well, here it is, and of course I thought maybe I manifested it. Like, who wouldn't think that?
Sure.
What were you worried about? Possibly not waking up? Were you worried about how you would be when you wake up? Or
no.
Were you not worried at all?
I really wasn't worried at all. I just kind of felt like it is what it is.
And that's what I saw, Mike. I think I asked her, and she told me that she wasn't worried about herself, that she felt like she was in a good place spiritually.
Yeah.
Right.
But that she was more worried about me and the girls.
Yeah.
How selfless, right?
Wow. How about that? Let's go fast forward 5 hours. Obviously, I would not expect you to remember waking up, but as you came to, did you? I mean, the first picture I saw, I expected you to look like me, and when I saw you with a full head of hair, I was like, "This, huh?" Did you do the same? Did you go, "Wow, I feel pretty good"?
My head was wrapped. I had my head wrapped
2 days,
something like that. But can we backtrack a minute?
Sure.
I want to talk about my dear friend Stephanie Stavola.
Okay.
Who I've been friends with Steph for 30 years.
There's the three.
And Stephanie and I, throughout COVID, we both had very similar convictions about COVID. And thank God she remembered talking to me about this because I FaceTimed her when I got home from MUSC, and she remembered the conversation. And I was like, and I said, she's like, wait a minute, how are you calling me right now? And how are you outside in the sunshine? Didn't you just have brain surgery yesterday? And I was like, Stephanie, please tell me that you remember the conversation that you and I had about COVID and how it felt like spiritual warfare. I'm sorry. And Mike, none of us got that vaccine, but I got one of the most piercing headaches. I don't know what this is from, but that's about where the headache was. And
when did you
Stephanie,
get that?
No, that's from the surgery.
I think that's from
Yeah.
they use something called a halo.
Oh.
Who would have thought, right?
Exactly.
But she's like, actually, I do remember that. She's like, I remember exactly where I was. So there's another witness, you know, just another piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
What are you trying to put these pieces of the puzzle? Like what does that have to do with anything?
So it was revealed to me that the devil himself created COVID. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's about control and isolation. We would have been fine. I even think that I talked to some of the nurses about how dangerous the ventilators were.
Mm-hmm.
And how, you know, we could have battled this together as, you know, in unity,
mm-hmm.
which is what we really should have done. And instead, you know, we masked up, which has a lot more, the whole mask thing has a lot more meaning.
Right. Let me ask you, because I want to make sure I understand.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying it was revealed. When it was revealed to you, do you mean like this was an out of body experience?
Yes.
While surgery was going on?
So you want to hear something really funny?
Like a lot of them, like
they're even with like secular movies. One of my favorite movies is The Family Man, and
I don't know that one.
It's
Adam Sandler.
No, it's Nicolas Cage and
yeah.
Téa Leoni. And in that movie, he gets what's called a glimpse of what his life would be like if he had gone a different direction. And I made my family watch it the other night. I'm getting chills. But
she's talking like we never watched these movies before together.
But they like make me cry. Like I have such a tender heart, you know, that I just feel like the Holy Spirit is always speaking to me and telling me, you need to listen to me. You need to trust me. Like I'm on your side here. I want you to do this in the world.
Do you feel that was happening before your surgery, Heather, or no?
Not as hard. I felt some tugs, you know, but I would turn it off and I would put on my, you know, Kenny and my song, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this, was Tupac, Unconditional Love. and I whatever, you like remember Dad broke all of our CDs.
Heather's been bipolar with music since I've known her. And, you know, when I was younger, we met. I listened to that kind of music. But after children and becoming an adult, it's more like country music, you know, old classic rock and roll music. But, you know, up until this surgery, this girl was in the car. You better be prepared to have some hip hop on.
Really?
And when we were on our way home from Charleston, from when they released her, it was Christian music.
Yeah.
On our way to
worship.
Charleston, that on Tuesday evening, it was worship music.
Yeah.
And I knew, don't change the channel. Don't ask to hear another song.
Yeah.
You know.
So let me ask, Heather, do you feel, or what do you feel? We all have callings, and we don't know them all the time. Sometimes it's revealed to us in different manifestations and different things, and we wonder, have we been wasting this or whatever? Do you feel that you are called to do something specific now?
Yes.
Or tell me about that.
Sure. So I've always had this huge draw to big cities because
New York is a favorite of yours.
New York City. No, quiet. Get that thing off. Trying to interrupt. And I think it's just because I just love people so hard that it makes me sad to see like everyone's phone in their faces.
Mm-hmm.
And just like completely disengaging from each other with the heads,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the headsets.
Sure.
I mean, like gone are the days of like just deep connection,
Right.
you know? And we were guilty of it too. I mean, Kenny and I would fall asleep to Law and Order SVU on the couch, and then I'd be like, "Hey, let's go to bed," you know? And Mike, I'm telling you, this is literally just a glimpse of what's to come. And I totally had an out of body experience, and I saw myself, and Steven Spielberg himself I wouldn't even trust him with the production, because the way it pulled back and then wrapped around, and I saw myself, if that makes sense, like a camera kind of pulling back, going around.
Sure.
I'm telling you, it was like, and I felt like I was like this, and and all I heard was praise music in my head, like, and I felt so at peace, and I know I got a reveal of what's to come, because.
So let's, before you go there now, but what do you feel your calling is, or are you still trying to figure that out?
I just want to, so here's what was revealed to me. We are all God's symphony, and we work better together.
Absolutely.
But sometimes he pulls a couple little pieces apart, which is why I've always loved going to the candlelight concerts, you know, where, you know, they're very intimate, and there's usually just like a quartet or whatever, right? Oh my God, this stupid steroid. But he does use us in very unique ways. And sometimes he just pulls a few people out, which is what he did with me, because I have been, the words have just been flowing, Mike. I'm like, all right, what do you want me to write next? Let's go. Right. It's just, I haven't been able to think like this in so long. So back to Stephanie. She screenshot, she's like, hold on, I want to screenshot this. We just had this really funny feeling that that this was spiritual warfare, and it was created by the devil himself. So
you are hoping that your story is able to, you know, someone that may be a non-believer but see and listen to your story, that you can
I'm
convince
them
them God is real.
Oh, for sure. And some of our dearest friends were atheists, and Kenny used to get in a fight with we went to Lake Oconee, and after I hit my head, and I had an ice pack on my head the whole time, and one of our best friends, her name is Karina.
No, don't.
Who cares? I mean, I'm gonna be honest. She and Kenny got in a huge fight on the way back from Mexico last year in the car, and I was the one scolding him, and I was like, can we just shut this conversation down? Because she's like, who cares what I believe? Why do you care what I believe? You know, and you know, we need to care about what each other believes, because we should all want to be together again. You know,
I grew up, Mike, with my granddad. Not sure you remember Ed Nix.
Yes.
So he's, you know, and my Uncle Ray that ended up moving away and picketing all the places, you know. If anyone has lived here prior to the 70s, they know my family, and I've grown up with the Bible being shoved down my throat.
Used as ammunition.
And my Uncle Gabe that I stayed with, my granddad's son, which is my age, by the way, he doesn't believe in God. He's an inventor. He invents things. He's brilliant. He's done very, very extremely well financially, but because he believes in science and math and the way we were raised, he doesn't believe in God anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Neither does some of my cousins, some of Ray's kids. My best friend that moved here from Pennsylvania, he and his wife, We've asked them to come to church, but when we go to dinner every Friday night, and we knew not to talk about God or invite them to go to church. I've talked to their sons about believing in God, and they just said they've never been raised that way, but they're open to it. But because of mom and dad, we feel scared to go down and explore that path. And I think there's probably at least 10 people since this has come about with Heather that are turning the corner.
Wow.
And she sees that.
Yeah.
I think that first of all, everything you all are saying resonates, and my wife's in the other room in there, but I know
Hi, Teresa.
I know she is going. See, yep. I mean, we have had these conversations, and it's very interesting and ironic, and some could say it's even a little weird that what you're saying are some conversations we have had. Quite honestly, now people they when they find out how I was raised, they're like, "Are you kidding me?" I was raised a Mormon, and again, I mean,
you shared that with me before.
Did I really? Okay,
Yeah.
Potty mouth me. I was raised a Mormon, but I have always had the street corner preacher you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I've always had kind of a problem with that. Like, maybe I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
And now, Heather, I want you to think back to Heather a year ago, who I think you said you weren't okay with that. Are you okay with that now? Have you changed?
Still not okay with that. I think it's disgraceful. I think using scripture as ammunition is disgusting and turns people away. But if I can shine a light and share my story,
right,
and get people to understand that, first of all, this is what was revealed to me. Our parts have purposes. They are a perfect design. Rainbows are God's promises, and they're circles. And I know that that's going to offend some people. Kenny's like, "Are you ready to lose some friends?" And I was like, "I'm telling you, if this pushes people away, then they're experiencing their own spiritual warfare in their head."
Share with them the one thing that has touched me that you've said, trying to process all of this, was that you asked God if you were one of his angels.
I did. I said, "Am I an angel?" And he goes, "No, you're of the flesh. You took one for the team." I mean, look at me. I look like a mental patient. Yeah. They took me to the sunset thing at Wharf Street,
which was Friday night. I brought her home on Thursday, and
Friday, I just wanted
to go to listen to the music.
And
the sunset.
And there was a girl in the bathroom behind me, and I could just feel her judgment. I mean, I know I look like I just escaped the loony bin. Trust me, I see it too.
That's her problem.
Totally.
That's
and that's where grace comes in. But I wanted so bad to turn around and be like, "Huh, I was you one day. I was you. You know, I was the one wearing the Love Shack fancy from Kelly Karen, and
were these younger kids though that was staring at you?
She was probably in her 20s or maybe early 30s. I don't know.
Yeah.
But grace, right?
When you were younger, as a teenager, maybe you told me this. Now, was church a weekly thing?
I was raised Catholic. And,
okay.
And I never got anything out of the Catholic Church, and I feel bad for saying that. My mom
She says that. Sorry to interrupt you, but when we went, another absolutely amazing human being that is Tom Riley.
Yeah.
Right? When we went to Tom Riley's funeral, my best friend growing up, Brendan Riley, and he's going through some things himself, and he and I have reconnected through this whole, prior to even Heather, and then when Heather was diagnosed, it got even stronger, the bond there.
And I didn't want him to burden him with it, and I was like, "Kenny, he's going through his own storm."
But back to the Catholic thing, when we went to Tom's funeral, I've never been to a Catholic funeral, and it was so beautiful.
It was.
And when you talk about someone that was okay to go see their creator, it was that man. He wanted to be here to make an impact. more of an impact. He said I'm sorry I couldn't stay around longer, right?
Yeah.
Because he really had an impact on this island, right?
Oh yeah, he did.
But this girl was crying her eyes out.
I could barely hold it together.
This was before she even knew she had the garage
Oh
door
my
incident
God.
happen. And I got in the car and I said, honey, are you going to go? Are we going to the Catholic Church next Sunday?
Well, no. Actually, you're leaving out a pivotal part of our conversation. He starts asking me these questions like, what do you think it's like in heaven? Do you think like we're around all of the people that we know?
I've asked that myself.
And I was like, oh my
Yeah, like
gosh.
what happens after, like, is Tom gonna, and then also, like, is there states? Do we go to heaven in a place like where we all, like, where our life ended and those people are you know, like, what is it like? Are we disciples of God and, like, we're all, like, there on, like, one big army on behalf of him? Like, what is it like, right? It made me think.
Yeah, absolutely. I have those exact. I wonder. Both sets of grandparents. Will they be as I remember them when they died, or will they be as I was when I was a kid? I don't know. I'd like to know.
So I'll tell you.
But I'm not willing to take that, like, like I told my uncle when I was there with him, that, this is a small glimpse of an opportunity to live your life to the fullest for God while we're here on this earth. And, you're taking and gambling in Vegas with your life.
Yeah.
And we know how it ends up in Vegas when we gamble, right? Like the odds aren't in our favor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm not, even if nothing happens after you die and you're dead and you have whatever, I'm not willing while I'm walking this earth to take that chance and gamble, right? So what do we have to lose to live for him, our creator?
Yeah.
So that's like kind of where I'm at, because I've been on a spiritual craziness myself where, the way I was raised and I've just distanced, I've kind of like in the last 20 years, I would say that, I've lived my life doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because it's because God wants me to do it that way.
We were good people.
Right. And I don't think I don't think just doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do is gonna get you there.
Your soul. It doesn't. Yeah. No, it doesn't.
So, Heather, there was a couple of things that we were talking about earlier over text that you wanted me to remind you about. Tell me, you said something about the congressional baseball game.
Yes.
To remind you about that.
So I came out of surgery and I Googled it to make sure. But the congressional baseball game was on. Republicans versus Democrats. And I just remember thinking, I can't watch this. Like, there's so much division in this nation. And I'm telling you, God is weeping over it. He wants us to be united. Like, the whole division of the parties, we need to be one party in unity. And I'm telling you, in one nation under God. I'm getting emotional. And then I don't think it's a coincidence either that I saw I changed the station, and I'm pretty sure it was the same night. There was a show on, and I can't tell you what channel, but I'm sure somebody can figure it out. But there was a woman who was a warrior for Jews for Jesus. And you can still respect and have your Jewish faith, but you can be saved too, through the Holy Trinity. And I just remember thinking, this is no coincidence that these shows are on. Like, this is more signs, And I have been tracking these signs for so long. I mean, Mike, I quit listening to music. I love music. Sammy said to me the other day, she's like, Mom, it's so good to hear you sing again. I feel like I'm looking through a new set of eyes on this earth now.
Wow.
It is so, I could have never done this. The words wouldn't come to me.
And you're going to document all that in your blog that I've got labeled down here, correct?
Oh, yeah. I'm getting up at What time have I been waking
She
up?
went to bed at like 9 o'clock last night, and it literally 11:59. I feel her getting out of bed.
I'm like,
I
This
don't
was
doubt
just
that
last
one
night.
bit. I don't doubt
She's
that one
running.
bit.
Yeah, we're gonna probably have to wrap it up, Mike. But she's
Yeah.
running on adrenaline right now.
Yeah.
And steroids.
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of her to get to 8:39 p.m. But
One
the night
thing-
before,
Yeah.
the night, so we're probably not. We wake up 7 o'clock, 7 a.m. The night before, she gets me up at 4:15 a.m. I am hungry,
Yeah.
and we're in the kitchen making breakfast at 4:30, and
But you're a
I'm
good
like,
man. You're a
I'm
good
like,
guy.
honey, we can't wake up. She's got her phone playing loud Christian music, wide open. I'm
Yeah.
like, honey, the girls our house isn't that big, you know.
we have a very
They're
small
gonna-
house,
they're
but
gonna
man,
kill
am I
us.
thankful for it.
Last
So-
question. You asked me to ask you about your Instagram story.
My Instagram story.
You said remind you to tell us about your Instagram story.
Oh, so I asked God. I said, should I go ahead and delete that awful person that was posting all that hateful, mean-spirited, like provoking person that was using Instagram
Yep.
to like try to make people jealous.
Well, she's hard on herself, you guys. Because of the spiritual experience that she's going through right now, she's referring to like getting a new listing and posting that she got a new listing or a house
Like,
being sold.
look at me for the third time.
And
I
it's not
gotcha.
because she was doing it because she was being boastful. I don't believe that, you guys.
I know.
Although she feels that way now,
Yeah,
right?
I feel super convicted.
Oh, great. You know what? We love you guys.
Love you too.
You can follow, ladies and gentlemen, follow Heather's story on I'm gonna set the world on fire.blogspot.com. Heather, we want to, Teresa and I both, and all the listeners that are watching and listening, we want to keep going with your story.
Yeah,
We want to
there's
feed
so much more
off,
to come.
we want to feed, we want to feed off your positive energy, because that can do wonders. And I remember I think you guys go to Low Country, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we used to go there, and I remember one thing Jeff Cranston said that it still gets my goat that less than 1% of the people are believers.
Yeah.
If you look at the in mass, less than 1%,
I think it's
and
less.
so that people like you, Heather, I don't know why we do what we do, what happens. Who
Yeah.
am I to say anything? But there's a reason that the 3 is coming to you. There's a reason. I don't know what it is, but I have my gut has been pretty good to me.
Yeah.
And there's a story here, and we want to watch and be there right with you.
Thank you.
Can I say, I know the listeners here are involved with the politics and the situations with, what's going on in the world today. And like I was listening to you a little bit about holding things accountable. And I have a feeling that the majority of us want the same thing. We're just going about it in different ways.
That's right.
And so Heather had just mentioned that, but if you guys can just, pray for us and our family.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Heather and I have always done a really good job of date nights prior to all of this and enjoying each other's time together. But I would say that time together, we'd be at really nice, the Bluffton room having dinner, and she's on her phone about a real estate deal, and I'm talking to the waitress or the waiter, and it was nice. But those moments now became a whole lot more meaningful.
Wow.
And
We're
you're
doing puzzles
yeah.
over here on our coffee table.
I think it's wonderful.
What I can ask of you guys, of course, the prayers, because Heather's not out of the woods yet. We're waiting for this biopsy to come back, and we need that to be positive. But when you guys are together, spouses, I don't care your spouse is a man and a man, a woman, a man and a female, but just enjoy those moments and try to, know we're not promised tomorrow, and let's just put the phones down.
Yeah.
And be with one another.
We are so interwoven, and I kind of take issue with what you just said, because there is a perfect design in place, and I'm telling you, it is God and man and woman, and then children, and that's gonna piss some people off, but I'm telling you, did I not just send you a picture of a rainbow?
You did.
I mean,
You
come
did.
on. All the signs are there.
That's right.
I need people to listen. Don't confuse brotherhood with the devil using your impulses for unnatural things.
I think all the listeners here are on the same page with you.
We're right here with you.
Probably, but
All right.
I'm
We all send our love to you both.
Thank you.
Hang in there, Heather. You hang in there.
Thank you.
Kenny, you're a good fellow. Love you like a brother.
Thank
You guys, if you need anything, as always, Teresa and I will be whatever you need.
Thank you.
Only thing I can't do is lay tile, and you're out of luck there. But whatever you guys need, all right.
You guys take care.
Thanks, Mike.
All right.
We love y'all.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
That is what I'm talking about. It is 8:45, and wow, man! If you don't have if that didn't touch you, you probably need to go have your pulse checked. Julianne, that was an incredible show. God has blessed and will continue. Thank you for that, Julianne. And yes, Heather, you are blessed, and you what a story. What a story. Powerful. Thanks, honey, for the hearts. It was unbelievable. That was just unbelievable. And it's a great testimony. 15 minutes before the top of the hour, we're out of turn 4. And again, if you want to stay tuned and see what's going on, keep in touch with Heather. Again, I've got it on the screen. I'm going to set the world on fire. I'm going to leave this up here. I'm going to set the world on fire.blogspot.com. Doesn't cost anything. Just log into it and or whatever, click on it, whatever. And just read and be part of it. All right, I want to give you all just a brief update on some things with our story of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation. We're in the middle of part 2, but we're still waiting on some documentation. I know I've been saying that, but you're just going to have to, just wait because this has got to be. I want the right material, and the researchers want the right material, and the investigators need the right material. So we're waiting on some FOIAs to come back. However, I do want to show a glimpse of some spending, and actually, I'm probably going to just put this. After hearing what I hear, I'm really not even interested in putting this up tonight, but we'll do it next week. We have some expenditures that you need to see that just make us go, what's really going on? Why are we spending thousands and thousands of dollars in Connecticut when there's nothing in Connecticut. We don't have, anyway, more about that later. But we do have stuff we're working on with that. Let's see. I have had infrastructure problems that we do have going on. A lot of people have been talking about that with me. Hearing Beaufort and Jasper County problems with infrastructure as of late. I talked about this at the beginning of the show, the top of the show, growth problems. I've said many times, and you need to understand this, that growth must, a place, a county, a town, must grow or it will die. And growth doesn't mean getting bigger in mass, but it has to have, it cannot be stagnant. It does have to have growth in some fashion, in a proper fashion. Stagnation as a long-term conclusion is a death sentence. Look at, and I love the town of Estill. The town of Fairfax is a nice town. Those towns have had death sentences because of stagnation. Let me pose this to you. And I'm not saying I am for what I'm about to tell you or against what I'm about to tell you, but it's just something to think about because the question has come up. Have we reached a point in Beaufort and Jasper County, more specifically Beaufort County, where there ought to be either like a 6-month, a 9-month, or a 12-month moratorium on any new growth that is not already permitted for build out? I mean, do they need to, use that time to get things in order? Things like permitting and planning, development, zoning, whatever, where growth and new growth in the sense of vertical, as we've seen here, is happening so fast, it's happening faster than they can correct it because of a myriad of problems, governmental problems, spending money like a drunken sailor problem, taxing people out of their homes problem, things like that. Municipalities, hey, you need to have time to hear from the county, and all parties need to get their proverbial shit together when it comes to jurisdictional costs and responsibilities. Maybe they should use that time, or could use that time, to eliminate some of these donut holes that we have here in southern Beaufort County, especially. You take that 6, 9, 12 months, whatever it is, as long as it's not already permitted, because you can't stop something that's already permitted. That's against the law. And in these donut holes, in this zone shopping that municipalities have been so rampant on for years, I would love to hear from you, whether it's now or later on this. Moratoria, which is the plural of a moratorium, does have legal boundaries. They cannot be in perpetuity. I get all that. So, hey, I suggest, you do you, boo, but you do the legal research yourself on moratoria, and see what you come up with. For the folks who, and this, with all due respect, for those folks who say, do not let anybody else in, we are closed, this is a rallying call for you. So I want to hear it. But keep in mind that thought process, the we are closed, don't let anybody else in, that is not common sense. That will not work. So let's hear it. I want to hear from you, however you want to get there. Last couple things. America, Israel, Iran, there's a lot of stuff going on. Pay attention. We are at the brink of possibly being involved in a war with Iran. I don't know what's happened in the last 2 hours, but I know going onto the air, President Trump had come out and said that 2 weeks, Khomeini, you've got 2 weeks to pull back your nuclear deal, or we will become involved. I'm not a warmonger. I'm not in favor of going to war. I'm not in favor of that at all. However, there is a time and a place when that has to happen. Simply put, Iran cannot ever have a nuclear weapon. Some have said, well, put yourself in their shoes. And I've even thought this way, put myself in their shoes. Screw y'all. If I want one, I'm going to get one. I understand that, but I'm not in your shoes. I'm in our shoes, and we cannot afford to let you have one. Iran and their government, as it sets right now, this regime is the center of terror, and we cannot allow that to happen on the face of this earth. So I say all this because people need to be alert and cautious. The world is in turmoil. If you think that this turmoil is not reaching the shores of your little town, think again. I don't care if you're in Greenville or Green Pond, Savannah or St. Helena. It can and it will happen. If it hasn't happened, God bless you. But it can and it will happen. Threats against Americans and American interests are extreme, and they are at extreme levels right now. Being alert, not being paranoid. You don't have to be paranoid, but be alert is proper and should be done. Hey, what do they always say? If you see something, say something. I mean, that applies here. All right, let's see. That is it for tonight. We are going to be back next week. As always, thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. Like I said, we had over 7,000 people on BigPatriotRadio.com. I want to thank you, Kenny and Heather Nix, for coming on and sharing your story. It's a God story. There's no other way to put it. You shared it with us, and we are eternally grateful. Check her blog out. Follow along. I'm going to set the world on fire.blogspot.com. If you want to follow Heather, follow her right here. This is the best way to memorialize it and see what's going on, and stay focused with her. Let's see. I want to thank you guys for being on here and being a part of helping we reach that 4,000 stars mark on Facebook. You still have a little bit of time. Go to the Facebook links where you're watching right now and give stars to the show. Or, hey, right down at the very bottom of the screen, down there, there's Venmo. You can do that there as well. Your generosity keeps bringing in new stories, keeps paying the bills, and all the stuff that it takes to put this thing together. Don't forget, we are putting together, as I said a minute ago, part 2 and part 3. Right now, we're concentrating on part 2 of the Beaufort County Economic Development Corporation story. And that is, like I said, I know what we're waiting on with the FOIAs. So once they come in, where we've got it in black and white, that can be shared with you. Again, unfortunately, at the beginning of this, we were getting replies back from FOIA requests to tweet. Obviously, they've this is no new story. They know what we're doing and what the show is about, and we're not accusing anybody of anything. Don't get all bent. But now they're stringing out those FOIA requests to the 30-day max. I guess they're just dangling the carrot, and that's okay. You do you. So anyway, your tax dollars. This story, if you haven't seen part 1, go back and look at it in the library on Facebook or YouTube. This story is going to tell you where your tax dollars are going. Every Economic Development Corporation piece of money, piece of anything is paid for by you, John and Jane America. And our story is going to show you what money is going where, to whom, to when, to why. And it's answering the question, are you getting ripped off? And again, you're going to be surprised of the who, the where, the when that's involved. As always, it's true. You're going to be a little surprised. It's going to blow your mind, probably piss you off, and make you want to go yell. Thank you very much. Yell out loud. Until then, all we can say is thank you for watching. We'll see you next week right here. BigPatriotRadio.com and